Hey there, friends, it's your buddy Saeed Rasalat, and today I've got something really exciting to share with you. Ever wondered how some towns in the Rocky Mountains have these eerie, unexplained stories that give you goosebumps? Well, in this video, we're diving deep into the mysteries of these mountains, exploring the strange disappearances, ghostly encounters, and local legends that will leave you fascinated and maybe a little spooked. So, grab your favorite snack, get cozy, and join me on this thrilling adventure into the heart of the Rocky Mountains. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. The Vanishing Echoes, a gripping mystery thriller that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Nestled in the mountains, in the heart of the Rocky Mountains, there nestled a quaint and peaceful town named Pineview. Its picturesque charm was accentuated by the lush evergreen forests that surrounded it, and the towering peaks that loomed in the distance. Pineview was a place where time seemed to slow down, where the air was crisp and clean, and where the simple pleasures of life were cherished. Amidst the tranquil beauty of Pineview, a figure stood out, a woman with an air of quiet determination. Detective Sarah Lawson was a familiar face in town, known not only for her sharp mind but also for her unwavering commitment to justice. With chestnut hair that framed her face and eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the world, Sarah was a formidable presence in the town's small police department. Sarah had grown up in Pineview and had always felt a deep connection to the town and its people. Her father had been the town's sheriff before her, and the legacy of law enforcement ran deep in her family. From a young age, she had shown an aptitude for solving puzzles and a relentless curiosity that made her an excellent detective. As the morning sun cast a warm glow over Pineview, Sarah sat at her desk in the police station, sipping a cup of coffee. The station was a modest building, a reflection of the town itself. The walls were adorned with photographs of smiling residents, and a map of the town hung prominently, marked with pins denoting various incidents and cases. Outside her window, children played in the park, their laughter carrying on the breeze. The townspeople greeted each other with friendly waves as they went about their daily routines. It was a scene of perfect normalcy, a place where everyone knew their neighbors, and the biggest concern was usually whether it would rain during the annual summer fair. Sarah sighed contentedly as she watched the townsfolk go about their day. Pineview may not have been the setting for high-profile crimes or intense investigations, but it was home, and in her eyes, protecting her home and the people in it was a duty she cherished. Just as she was about to delve into a stack of paperwork, the phone on her desk rang, shattering the tranquility of the moment. She picked it up, her instincts instantly on alert. Detective Lawson, came the voice of Officer Daniels on the other end. "We've got a situation. Emily Turner's gone missing." Sarah's heart sank at the mention of Emily Turner's name. Emily was a sweet and vivacious young woman who worked at the town's bakery. She was well liked by everyone and had a smile that could brighten the gloomiest of days. "Tell me everything, Daniels," Sarah replied, her tone businesslike. As Officer Daniels provided the details of Emily's disappearance, Sarah's mind began to race. She knew that in a town like Pineview, such incidents were rare. Emily's vanishing was an anomaly, and anomalies demanded her full attention. Within minutes, Sarah was on the scene at Emily's small cottage on the outskirts of town. The front yard was neatly manicured, and flower beds overflowed with colorful blooms. It was a stark contrast to the anxiety that hung in the air. Sarah stepped inside the cozy home, where the scent of freshly baked bread still lingered. She observed signs of a struggle: a knocked-over chair, a broken plate, and scattered flour on the kitchen floor. It was clear that something had gone terribly wrong. She interviewed Emily's family and friends, her empathetic nature helping her to coax out the smallest of details. Tensions between Emily and her boyfriend came to light, as did a few unexpected revelations about her past. examined the scene more closely, she noticed a peculiar detail, a small, folded piece of paper tucked under a kitchen magnet. She plucked it free and unfolded it to reveal a cryptic message, a jumble of letters and numbers. It was a puzzle, and Sarah was certain it held a clue. The disappearance of Emily Turner had transformed Pineview from a haven of tranquility into a place tinged with unease. The once normal town had been thrust into the throes of a mystery, and Detective Sarah Lawson was determined to solve it, no matter where the clues might lead. 2. The disappearance. The sun dipped below the towering peaks of the Rockies, casting long shadows over Pineview as Detective Sarah Lawson stood outside Emily Turner's quaint cottage. Anxiety gripped her heart as she surveyed the scene. The picturesque charm of the town had been shattered by Emily's sudden disappearance, and a sense of foreboding settled over her. Sarah's footsteps echoed on the creaky wooden porch as she approached the front door. The welcome mat, once bright and inviting, now lay askew. She took a deep breath, steadying herself for what lay beyond. Inside the cottage, the remnants of a life lived in tranquility lay in disarray. The cozy living room, adorned with photos of Emily's smiling face, was now a scene of chaos. Sarah's trained eyes quickly spotted a knocked-over chair, its legs askew, and a broken plate scattered across the hardwood floor. "Looks like a struggle," she muttered to herself, her instincts honed by years of solving mysteries kicking into gear. She reached for her radio and called it in. Officer Daniels and the forensic team would need to join her immediately. As she ventured deeper into the cottage, she couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister had taken place here. A trail of flour led her to the kitchen, where the evidence of a struggle became even more apparent. The countertop had been wiped clean, but faint smudges of flour remained, as if someone had tried to erase all traces of their presence. Sarah knelt down to examine the flour, her gloved fingers carefully collecting a sample. She couldn't help but wonder what had transpired in this very room. Emily Turner, known for her warm smile and delicious pastries, had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a chilling mystery. Just then, Officer Daniels arrived at the scene, his brow furrowed with concern. "Detective Lawson, it doesn't look good," he remarked, surveying the disarray. Sarah nodded. "We need to gather all the evidence we can find. I want the forensic team here ASAP." As they combed through Emily's cottage, they discovered more eerie clues. In Emily's bedroom, her bed was unmade, and her clothes were strewn about, as if she'd hastily tried to pack a bag. But there was no bag in sight, and her car was still parked in the driveway. In the dim light, Sarah spotted another anomaly. A framed photograph on Emily's nightstand that had been knocked over. It was a picture of Emily with a man whose face was now scratched out. A jolt of suspicion shot through her. Who was this man, and why had his image been defaced? The clues were like pieces of a puzzle, and Sarah knew she had to put them together to understand the full picture. She snapped photos, collected samples, and interviewed Emily's neighbors, trying to piece together the events leading up to the disappearance. As the hours ticked by, anxiety and fear spread like wildfire through Pineview. The once tranquil town had been plunged into a state of uncertainty, and residents locked their doors a little tighter that night. Emily Turner's absence had sent shockwaves through the community. Sarah, on the other hand, remained resolute. She knew that in a small town like Pineview, where secrets were rare and everyone's life intertwined, answers were hidden in plain sight. She was determined to uncover the truth, to bring closure to Emily's family, and to restore the sense of normalcy that Pineview so desperately needed. The eerie clues in Emily's cottage were just the beginning of a mystery that would challenge Detective Sarah Lawson's sharp instincts and unwavering determination. As the hours turned into days, and the days into weeks, she would delve deeper into Pineview's secrets, unearthing a web of lies, betrayals, and hidden motives. Emily's disappearance was a puzzle, and Sarah was determined to solve it, no matter where the trail of clues might lead. 3. Uncovering secrets. Days turned into weeks as Detective Sarah Lawson tirelessly worked to unravel the enigma surrounding Emily Turner's disappearance in the tranquil town of Pineview. The more she dug, the more the town's secrets began to surface, like tendrils of darkness creeping into the light. Sarah knew that often, the key to solving a mystery lay in the people closest to the victim. She began her interviews with Emily's friends and family. Their faces bore expressions of worry and fear, and it didn't take long for Sarah to sense the underlying tensions. Emily's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Turner, were distraught. Tears welled up in Mrs. Turner's eyes as she clutched a worn photograph of her daughter. "Emily was such a good girl," she whispered. "She had no enemies." But as Sarah continued to question them, she detected hints of a strained relationship between Emily and her boyfriend, James. Sarah's intuition told her that there was more to their story, something they weren't revealing. It was a thread she would have to follow. Back at Emily's cottage, the forensic team had combed through the evidence but found no significant leads. However, just as Sarah was about to leave, she noticed something peculiar on the kitchen counter, a folded piece of paper, identical in style to the one she had found earlier. Unfolding it, she saw a series of numbers and letters, much like the cryptic message from before. Her intuition kicked into overdrive. These messages were deliberate, part of a larger puzzle. The numbers led her to coordinates deep into the forest surrounding Pineview. With flashlight in hand, she ventured into the woods, guided only by the glow of her flashlight and the eerie stillness of the night. It wasn't long before she stumbled upon an abandoned cabin. The cabin stood in stark contrast to the serenity of the surrounding woods. Its windows were shattered, and the door hung crookedly on its hinges. It exuded an aura of abandonment, as if it had been forgotten by time itself. Cautiously, Sarah entered the cabin. The air inside was damp and laden with the scent of decay. She shone her flashlight around, revealing walls adorned with old newspaper clippings, yellowed with age. It was a macabre collection, detailing unsolved disappearances that had haunted Pineview for decades. As she moved deeper into the cabin, she discovered a room filled with files, each meticulously organized. They contained notes, photographs, and newspaper articles about missing persons cases, some dating back to the 1950s. The realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. Emily's disappearance wasn't an isolated incident. It was connected to a dark and sinister history. Among the files, Sarah found references to a man named Samuel Blackwood, a detective who had been obsessed with solving these cases. His notes suggested a pattern, a series of symbols and clues that he believed would lead to the truth. But Samuel Blackwood had disappeared himself, leaving his investigations unfinished. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. Emily's disappearance wasn't just a random act. It was part of a larger, chilling mystery that had haunted Pineview for generations. The cryptic messages, the abandoned cabin, and the unsolved cases were all intertwined, and Sarah was determined to unravel the truth, no matter how deep it led into the shadows of the past. As Sarah Lawson delved further into this web of secrets, she would come to realize that Pineview was not the idyllic town it appeared to be. Beneath its picturesque exterior lay a dark history, one that had been carefully concealed for years. With each revelation, the stakes grew higher, and Sarah's resolve to bring the truth to light burned brighter. Emily Turner's disappearance was not just a mystery. It was a gateway to the haunting secrets of Pineview. IV. Race against time, the once peaceful town of Pineview had become a place of whispered fears and nervous glances as Detective Sarah Lawson delved deeper into the mysterious disappearances. Her pursuit of the truth was relentless, but as she would soon discover, time was not on her side. The town's collective unease deepened when news broke that another resident had gone missing. Martha Cunningham, a retired schoolteacher known for her kindness, had vanished without a trace. Panic spread through Pineview like wildfire, and the sense of safety that had once enveloped the town was shattered. Sarah found herself at Martha's modest cottage, much like the one where Emily Turner had lived. This time, however, there were no signs of a struggle, no cryptic messages left behind. It was as if Martha had simply vanished into thin air. The disappearance of a second person heightened the urgency of Sarah's investigation. She knew that time was slipping through her fingers like grains of sand, and she couldn't afford to let another hour pass without answers. Sarah revisited the cryptic messages she had discovered in both Emily and Martha's homes. She spent long nights poring over them, trying to find a pattern, a hidden message that could shed light on the disappearances. The numbers and letters seemed like gibberish at first, but as she continued to analyze them, a pattern emerged. The messages contained references to dates, times, and locations. They were coordinates, leading her to specific places within the town. With a growing sense of determination, Sarah followed the clues. Each location revealed a small piece of the puzzle. A tree where a name had been carved decades ago, a well that had long been forgotten, a trail that wound its way through the woods. It was a scavenger hunt orchestrated by an unknown hand, and Sarah was determined to stay one step ahead. The realization that Martha's disappearance was connected to Emily's sent shivers down Sarah's spine. She couldn't ignore the ominous implications any longer. Pineview was harboring a dark secret, one that spanned generations and demanded justice. The clock was ticking louder with each passing day. Sarah felt the weight of the town's fear and the desperation of the families whose loved ones had vanished. She knew that time was their most elusive enemy. With the cryptic messages as her guide, Sarah embarked on a relentless search through Pineview's history. She uncovered tales of old, stories of people who had mysteriously vanished, leaving behind nothing but questions and broken hearts. There was a pattern, a method to the madness that had plagued the town for generations. As Sarah pieced together the fragments of this sinister puzzle, she couldn't escape the feeling that someone was watching, someone who didn't want the truth to come to light. The stakes had never been higher, and the pressure to find the missing individuals before it was too late weighed heavily on her shoulders. Pineview had become a town gripped by fear, a place where the shadows whispered of long-buried secrets. Detective Sarah Lawson, armed with determination and the cryptic messages as her guide, was in a race against time. She knew that unraveling the mysteries of the past was the only way to save the lives of those in the present, and she was prepared to do whatever it took to beat the clock and bring justice to Pineview. Versus the twist, as Detective Sarah Lawson delved deeper into the labyrinth of mysteries surrounding the disappearances in Pineview, she was about to confront a twist that would shatter the town's fragile sense of security. Late one evening, as Sarah meticulously reviewed her notes in the dimly lit police station, a breakthrough emerged. The cryptic messages she had deciphered led her to an old, dusty archive hidden deep in the town's library. Among the aging documents, she discovered the name Samuel Blackwood, the detective who had investigated the unsolved disappearances of years past. Samuel Blackwood had been relentless in his pursuit of answers, and his notes hinted at a dark vendetta against the town. As Sarah pieced together the fragments of information, a chilling realization began to take shape. Samuel had once been a resident of Pineview, but he had been wronged by the very town he had sworn to protect. Driven by an insatiable thirst for revenge, Samuel had orchestrated the recent disappearances as a sinister plot to exact his vengeance. Emily Turner and Martha Cunningham had become pawns in his game, their lives sacrificed to settle an old score. To uncover the motive behind Samuel's vendetta, Sarah delved into Pineview's history. She discovered a long-buried secret that had festered beneath the town's idyllic surface for decades. It revolved around a scandalous event from the past, one that had led to Samuel's expulsion from Pineview and the ruination of his life. It was a tale of betrayal and conspiracy, involving some of Pineview's most prominent citizens. Samuel had been wrongfully accused and had suffered immeasurable losses as a result. The pain of his past had twisted him into a vengeful force, determined to make those responsible pay for their sins. The cryptic messages, the disappearances, and the vendetta were all connected to this dark chapter in Pineview's history. Samuel had carefully orchestrated his revenge, leaving clues that only someone with Detective Sarah Lawson's tenacity and insight could decipher. As Sarah dug deeper into Samuel's past and his connection to the town's dark history, she stumbled upon a revelation that sent shockwaves through her. Emily Turner, the sweet and vivacious baker, had been concealing a secret of her own. Emily had been aware of Samuel's vendetta, and she had secretly allied herself with him. Her involvement had been masked beneath a facade of innocence, but she had played a pivotal role in the disappearances that had gripped Pineview in fear. The shock of this revelation reverberated through the town, leaving residents in disbelief. Emily, the beloved town baker, had been leading a double life, betraying her friends and family in service to Samuel's revenge. With this revelation, Sarah understood the full extent of the darkness that had taken hold of Pineview. She now faced the formidable task of bringing Samuel and Emily to justice, while also healing the wounds of a town torn apart by secrets and betrayal. The twist in the tale had exposed the depth of human nature's capacity for vengeance and deception, and it left Sarah Lawson with a daunting challenge. She was determined to unravel the last threads of this complex mystery and bring closure to a town haunted by its past. But she knew that in doing so, she would need to confront the darkness that lurked not only in the shadows of Pineview but also within the hearts of its residents. Confrontation. The stage was set for a final confrontation in the town of Pineview. Detective Sarah Lawson had unraveled the intricate web of mysteries, exposing Samuel Blackwood's sinister revenge plot and Emily Turner's shocking betrayal. Now, it was time to confront the darkness that had gripped the town. Sarah had pinpointed the location of Samuel Blackwood's hideout, an isolated cabin deep within the eerie woods that surrounded Pineview. Armed with the knowledge of his vendetta and the cryptic messages that had led her here, she cautiously approached the cabin. The air inside was oppressive, suffused with the weight of Samuel's malevolence. As she entered, her flashlight illuminated the walls adorned with newspaper clippings and documents from the town's dark history. It was here that Samuel had orchestrated his vendetta, leaving cryptic messages as breadcrumbs for Sarah to follow. The cabin was silent, save for the faint hum of an old generator. Sarah felt the tension in the air, like a storm gathering on the horizon. She knew that Samuel was close, watching her every move. And then, as if emerging from the shadows themselves, Samuel Blackwood stepped into the dim light. He was a gaunt figure, with hollow eyes that burned with a chilling resolve. He regarded Sarah with a malevolent smile. "You've come a long way, detective," he sneered, "but you'll find no salvation here." Sarah's voice was steady as she faced her adversary. "Your reign of terror ends here, Samuel. It's time to pay for your crimes." What followed was a tense standoff, a battle of wills between the detective determined to bring justice to Pineview and the man consumed by vengeance. Samuel recounted the injustices he had suffered at the hands of Pineview's elite, the same people he believed Sarah was protecting. He saw himself as a crusader for justice, a dark avenger against the corrupt. As their confrontation escalated, Samuel produced a weapon, and Sarah had to rely on her quick reflexes and sharp instincts to disarm him. The struggle was fierce, each move calculated, and the cabin seemed to hold its breath as the two adversaries fought for control. Outside the cabin, the night had fallen, casting a shroud of darkness over the forest. The eerie woods, once a place of serenity, had become a treacherous labyrinth where Sarah and Samuel played a deadly game of cat and mouse. Sarah pursued Samuel through the dense trees, her flashlight cutting through the inky blackness. Branches snapped, leaves rustled, and the chilling wind whispered secrets that only the forest itself could understand. The chase led them deeper into the woods, each step intensifying the sense of foreboding that hung in the air. Sarah knew that time was running out, that the lives of Emily and Martha hung in the balance. Finally, in a clearing bathed in the cold light of the moon, Sarah closed in on Samuel. He was cornered, his back against a gnarled tree. It was a moment of reckoning, a confrontation that would determine the fate of Pineview. With nowhere left to run, Samuel's demeanor shifted from defiance to desperation. He began to speak, revealing the truth behind his vendetta and the town's darkest secrets. Decades ago, Samuel had been wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit. Those who had orchestrated his downfall had maintained a stranglehold on Pineview ever since. Samuel believed that by orchestrating the disappearances and leaving cryptic messages, he could expose the town's corrupt underbelly and make them pay for their sins. As Samuel's confession unfolded, a chilling revelation emerged. He had not acted alone. Emily Turner, the town's beloved baker, had been complicit in his plan. She had secretly allied herself with Samuel, concealing her involvement beneath a mask of innocence. The truth about Emily's betrayal shook Sarah to her core, but there was no time for despair. Samuel had been apprehended, and the town's secrets were laid bare. It was time to bring closure to Pineview and ensure that justice was served. In the end, Samuel's vendetta had led to a climactic showdown that revealed the truth about the disappearances, the town's history, and the darkness that had gripped Pineview for generations. As Detective Sarah Lawson emerged from the eerie woods, the weight of the town's secrets finally began to lift. Pineview, once a place of tranquility marred by shadows, had a chance to heal. The disappearances that had haunted the town were solved, and the truth had prevailed. Detective Sarah Lawson had faced down the darkness and emerged victorious, bringing justice to a town that had been held captive by its own secrets for far too long. 7. Resolution. With the climactic showdown in the eerie woods of Pineview, Detective Sarah Lawson had finally brought the dark vendetta to an end. Now, as the dust settled, it was time for resolution and closure in a town forever changed. Emily Turner and Martha Cunningham, the two missing souls who had become pawns in Samuel Blackwood's revenge plot, were found safe, though visibly shaken by their ordeal. Emily's betrayal was a wound that ran deep in the hearts of the town's residents. Pineview would never be the same again. The news of Samuel's vendetta and Emily's complicity had spread like wildfire through the town. It was a bitter pill for the residents to swallow, and a sense of betrayal lingered in the air. The picturesque facade of Pineview had been irrevocably shattered, replaced by a town scarred by secrets and mistrust. With Samuel Blackwood apprehended and Emily's role exposed, Sarah's duty as a detective was far from over. She worked tirelessly to ensure that justice was served. Samuel faced a litany of charges for his actions, and the town's elite who had orchestrated his downfall decades ago were exposed to the light of truth. The legal proceedings were swift, and Samuel was sentenced to a lengthy prison term for his crimes. Emily, too, faced consequences for her betrayal, her once beloved bakery now a somber reminder of the darkness that had gripped her. Sarah also helped the town heal by organizing community meetings where residents could voice their concerns and fears. Pineview had been a close-knit community, and it was essential to rebuild the bonds that had been fractured by the revelations. As Pineview began the difficult process of healing, Detective Sarah Lawson couldn't help but reflect on the mysteries that continued to echo in the town. The disappearances and the vendetta had been solved, but the scars they had left ran deep. The small town had lost its innocence, and the trust that had once been the bedrock of Pineview had been shaken. Sarah knew that the wounds would take time to heal, and that some secrets might never fully come to light. As she stood on the porch of her childhood home, looking out at the picturesque town she had sworn to protect, Sarah couldn't ignore the feeling that Pineview still held secrets in its depths. The mysteries that had been unraveled were only a fraction of the enigmas that lingered in the shadows. But for now, Pineview was on the path to recovery. The town's residents were resilient, and they were determined to rebuild their sense of community. Sarah Lawson, their unwavering protector, knew that she would continue to stand guard over Pineview, ready to face whatever mysteries might arise in the future. The echoes of mystery would never truly fade from Pineview, but they would serve as a reminder of the town's strength and resilience. And as the sun dipped below the Rocky Mountains, casting a warm, golden glow over the town, Sarah had hoped that Pineview would find its way back to the serenity it had once known, even if the scars of the past remained etched in its history. 8. Possible future. The resolution of the Pineview mysteries marked the end of a harrowing chapter in Detective Sarah Lawson's life. As the town began its journey of healing, she too sought solace in the familiar comforts of her quiet existence. With Samuel Blackwood behind bars and Emily Turner facing the consequences of her actions, Pineview had regained a semblance of peace. The town's residents were determined to rebuild their lives, and Sarah couldn't have been prouder of the resilience they displayed. For Sarah, the conclusion of the Pineview case meant a return to her role as the town's protector. She still patrolled the streets, maintaining a watchful eye over Pineview's residents. The picturesque beauty of the town remained, and the echoes of the past had begun to fade. She spent her evenings on her porch, gazing out at the Rocky Mountains, their majesty a reminder of the enduring strength of Pineview. The stars overhead held their own mysteries, but they were far less ominous than the secrets that had once haunted the town. Yet, as Sarah settled back into her routine, hints of possible future mysteries lingered in the air. The town's history was still rife with unexplored tales, and Sarah knew that Pineview was not immune to the allure of enigma. Rumors circulated about a long-abandoned mine deep within the mountains, said to hold secrets of its own. Whispers of ghostly apparitions in the woods hinted at a different kind of mystery, one rooted in folklore and superstition. Pineview's past held hidden chambers waiting to be unlocked, and Sarah remained vigilant, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the story of Pineview drew to a close, readers were left with a sense of closure and intrigue. The mysteries that had gripped the town had been unraveled, but the promise of new enigmas loomed on the horizon. Sarah Lawson had proven herself to be a relentless guardian of Pineview's secrets, and her quiet determination hinted at more mysteries to come. The town had emerged from the shadows of its past, scarred but resilient, and readers were left with a profound sense of the indomitable human spirit. The echoes of mystery that had reverberated through Pineview had been silenced, but the allure of the unknown lingered, beckoning both Sarah Lawson and the curious souls who would follow her on future adventures. In the end, the conclusion of the Pineview Mysteries marked not just an end, but also a new beginning, a testament to the enduring power of stories that keep us on the edge of our seats, hungry for the next puzzle to solve and the next mystery to unravel. And as Detective Sarah Lawson returned to her quiet life, she knew that the echoes of Pineview would forever be a part of her, guiding her on her journey to uncover the enigmas that still lay hidden in the world. Thank you for joining me on this thrilling expedition through the mysteries of the Rocky Mountains. If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future episodes. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. There are countless more mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Until next time, keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep the spirit of adventure alive. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.